I'm not kidding you, 5 messages that said the same exact thing, that said, I love how you always reinvent yourself, or wow, a reinvention again, or something. And when I got those messages, I'm like, is that like a diss? It's like sort of like saying like, wow, you are constantly doing new things.
All right, here we go. How are you doing? Where are you? What's going on? It's really good to be here. This episode is a bit of a time capsule. What you're about to hear was recorded over 6 months ago, 7 months ago, actually. And the good news is things have improved a little bit for me in my mind. But back then, I was really going through it. And you can hear it. Listening back, I could hear my desperation when I was talking about how tightly I was trying to hold on to this podcast while also feeling like I should let it go, like I should stop doing it. So the reason why I sat on this conversation for as long as I did is because it is the first episode of a new series. I have been, questioning whether or not to keep going with this podcast or how to evolve it. Before I go further, I guess I should say, in case anyone is new here, a little context. I've been doing this for a bit longer than I've done anything else. And around the time that I recorded this, I was figuring out how to go about stopping. And instead of doing that, I started this series. You'll hear me really wrestling with what to do when something isn't growing. It's probably because I'm not evolving it. The series is really a way for me to answer the question of whether to continue or to stop. I should say up front, I don't actually know the answer yet. That's kind of the tension here. We'll see. Your guess is as good as mine. So tune in every week to find out. Let's start with episode 1. It's with my longtime friend, Jessica Murnane, who also started a podcast around the same time I did. She called me last summer to catch up, and I think she could feel how lost I was. And we talked about how to evolve in this medium, and she helped me sort through my pile of ideas that I had of what I could do and what I wanted to do. And we picked this Comebacks project, where I talk to people who have changed their lives or their work or their relationships in some sort of major way. I talk to them about what happened and what they learned in that process. And it's a bit more contained, I think, than the interviews you're used to with me. But we'll see. I'll let you be the judge of that. So that's how the seed was planted, on this phone call with Jess. And then I knew Jess herself had to be the first guest. So we recorded what you're about to hear a few weeks later. And when I went to edit it, it had been uploaded 7 months ago. What I realized since is how much looking back has slowed me down from going forward. Really, it's just a way of avoiding uncertainty. It's enticing to avoid. It really is. Richard Greenberg, I think he says, nostalgia is just longing for a time you knew you could survive. I get it, but I heard somebody said, or this is a cliche, I don't know, but it's something like the cheapest form of conversation starts with remember when. Well, no more looking back. That's it. So here we go. Forward on to this week's conversation with Jess. Since then, I'm proud to say I've quit Time Hop. I am clean and sober of that application that tells you what you did a year ago. These episodes to come are me processing how to move forward. And part of that is sometimes looking back to see what was useful or not. But really, I think all the advice I've gotten is do that as quickly as you can, fail fast. And something unexpected from this episode was about the idea of growing, that it can't be rushed, plants and gardening and taking care of something, letting it evolve. When you're really working with nature, even your body, it's kind of the opposite of being stuck in your head. Like nature doesn't look back, our bodies don't want to look back, they want to continue. And hearing Jess talk about plants and her new focus is horticulture therapy. Anyway, just made me realize how much growth of any kind actually requires nurturing and care and tending, and of course, time. So hop in the time machine, strap yourself in. I hope you're ready for this one. And Jess, if you're listening, dude, thank you. Thank you for the push, for the support, for still being such a generous friend to me, even when I take 7 years or 7 months, but who knows? It could have been 7 years, 7 months to harvest the seed of a podcast series that we planted together seasons ago. But okay, here we go. Thanks for listening. Okay, welcome to a new podcast. You, Jessica Murnane, have been on the podcast with me several times, but actually in a way you've never been here before, because we're doing something new and fresh and different.
Yes.
And while I'm still figuring it out, I'm a lot farther along in that than I would be without you, everybody's favorite podcast host and guest, and my dear friend of many years. So thank you so much for being here. How are you feeling?
Oh my gosh. I'm good. I'm really excited to hear what you're going to say and what it's going to be called and everything.
Me too. I mean, to be honest with you, and I think that's what we do. That's all I can do here. I am excited, and I was excited, and I prepped these notes on Monday when I'm in what I'm calling a friend of mine was like, "Oh, cool, you're in like whatever it takes mode." And I was like, "Oh, that's a good way of saying it." It feels like I want to be able to just enjoy this moment with you as much as possible. And I don't know if you relate to this, but I feel like I've had conversations with people where things feel really full. And even if it's good things, it's when there are too many of them, it's hard to, or not even good things, but just too much, period. It's hard to stop, or it's hard to be as present as I want to be. And I think that's hard for me because I'm such an all or nothing.
Well, throw the notes out then. Just talk.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm doing.
And also, really quick to backtrack.
Yeah.
Aren't most of us in do whatever it takes mode?
Yeah. Talk about.
I mean,
what do you mean? Tell me more.
I just think, and I mean, I don't know who your friend is. I'm sure she's a lovely person, but I mean, I feel like almost everyone I know is in do what it takes mode right now. I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have like some nice cushy 9-to-5s right now, but I know so many of my cookbook author friends and podcast friends and business owner friends who have had to close their business because of the T word. Like, I mean, I think most of the people I know are in do whatever it takes mode right now. So I don't even know if it's a thing. I think it's just like a reality right now for a lot of people.
Yeah, completely. And I think for me, it's less about having too much on my plate or just knowing I can do better, I have done better, or having an idea of like, God, I wish I had a bit more time, or I wish, the computer hadn't done that, or whatever. And just like accepting what is and moving on instead of just, what I'm doing right now, talking about how I wish it had gone another way, pivoting quickly, essentially.
Yes.
So to bring everyone in and tell everyone how this came to be and how you were helping me, this untitled project around comebacks, change, evolution, pivots. I think that it would be a really great place to start. And like speaking of the point I was just trying to make, I remember it was some podcast I've found in who knows what I was looking up. This was probably like 2012, and barely knew what podcasts were we hadn't even started ours. So, this is really in the dark ages back then. And it was some like Tony Robbins-esque type dude. It was cool,
Yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it just, not, I was like 20, but I remember him saying, fail fast, like, and I think our friend Serena's dad always says success teaches you nothing, but I think fail fast is like, yeah, success teaches you nothing. Like fail fast, get up and do something else. And right when I heard it, it really did resonate with me. And I was like, that guy's right. That is what you should do. And that would be very helpful for me. I haven't really been able to execute that in practice ever in my life, but you have. And I think what I've watched you do is, to me, you've never failed once in your life. It's just hit after hit with you. But I think it's probably because you are someone who's done so many things in your life and your career. And I've watched some of them, and I admire your poise and your grit throughout them and your ability to keep moving and your speed. And as you know, when we spoke on the phone a couple weeks ago and we were just catching up and you were so kind to want to help me figure out what I was going to do next, I have a tendency to linger at the party too long, where you, one of the coolest people I know, have always had a way of leaving before the party gets weird and going to a new party.
Irish
And
exit, lady.
y-
I love an
yeah,
Irish
yes,
exit.
it's in your blood.
It's in my blood to Irish exit. Yes.
Yeah, and I'm like a big Midwestern goodbye, which is also in your blood. But yeah, how did you rid yourself from your Midwestern goodbye? I guess I'm asking her, how do the words, change and comebacks and evolution resonate with you?
My gosh. It resonates a lot in different ways. I think first to just like come back to that point that you mentioned about everything I do is successful. I mean, I think at least 3 times a year I cry because I feel like I haven't had enough success of the things I've done. Whether it's like, my first book that came out, like it should have sold more copies. The second book came out, should have sold more copies. My stationery business should have been better. Like, I mean, I definitely have a hard time measuring what success is. And I think the more and more things I do, I realize it's not recognition, fame, good book deals. It's just financially feeling secure. And I think sometimes when you hop to project, and the thing is I call all these things I do projects, I guess, more than careers. And maybe it's just easier to frame it that way. But I think that when I recently launched my new company, Basker, I went back to school a couple years ago to study horticultural therapy. And yes, that is a real profession, and we could talk about that later. But when I went back to school for that and I launched my new business, I'm not kidding you, 5 messages that said the same exact thing that said, I love how you always reinvent yourself, or wow, a reinvention again, or something. And when I got those messages, I'm like, is that like a diss? It's like sort of like saying like, wow, you are constantly doing new things. But I mean, I don't think that the people that sent me those messages, I don't think they would be passive aggressively sending me disses. But I don't know what it is, but I just get this feeling where it's time to move on. And I think sometimes that can be good or that can be bad because, when I came out with my first book, which was a plant-based cookbook, I'm not saying I was the first person to do this. Like, I mean, there was T. Colin Campbell and millions of, not millions, hundreds of people that came before me in the plant-based space. But I was one of the first plant-based cookbooks in, I feel like, the genre of like Instagram, right? Where it was very Instagrammable. And I'll have to say, like, since that time, there's been books that have come out that are way huger and have gotten way much more, like, when we go back to money. And so a lot of times I think I'll do something and then I'll see that it's sort of becoming popular and then I kind of want to move on. But then I also think that when you move on, sometimes you don't get to reap the rewards of the thing that you were sort of in the ground floor of, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, to extend my party metaphor from earlier, I mean, I relate to what you're saying with your cookbook, and we spoke about this the other day on the phone. If we're talking about podcasting as a party, you and I were both quite early to arrive, so to speak, and then I think I'm still at the same spot at that party that I've been at for a very long time. And I think this new show that you helped me kind of talk through, a new iteration, is my response to that, to help me, get out of the corner where like the floor is sticky with beer and, get some like fresh confetti. And that's what you've done, with this new chapter with horticulture. And I think what my question is like, to me, there's a grief to that. I guess a grief to leaving, or a grief to endings, or a grief to, or maybe it's just comparison, and beginnings maybe are a way to soothe ourselves from the grief of like, okay, well, I did that and I did it in my way, and then a bunch of people maybe like for you, and certainly I think you paved the way for so many people who came after you, who might not even know about one part plant in the same way that I do. But there's a level of letting go that has to happen to start something new. And to me, I tend to kind of hold on to it too long, to be like, well, if I just could, because, your version of what you were saying with the cookbook, you share with me with podcasting too, is like, for a while it was a way we made money, or it was just the wild west of podcasting, and it has changed so much. And same with plant-based all of this. How do you process that? Does that grief come up for you, and is the way that you process it by starting something new, or does that make
Yeah,
sense?
100%. And I think what's wild about it is I am truly one of the most like emotional, and I hate when people say like I'm an empath, but I have issues with empathy. Like I talk to my therapist about it a lot, with just kind of hanging on to, like, I might see someone that's struggling during the day and then I think about that person for the next week, right? And so I am a very sensitive person, but when it comes to this stuff, I don't feel sensitive. One of an old friend of mine, I used to have this website a long time ago called So How Was Your Day? And it was, I mean, I started that probably like 10, 12, maybe even 15 years ago. And what I did was I featured people and the question was, so how was your day? And then they recapped by hour what they did that day. Cause I loved that feature in magazines. And so an old friend of mine who is on it, he said, hey, I can't find, so how was your day? This was like 5 years ago. I can't find, so how was your day? I wanted to kind of take a screenshot of that and include it in something I was doing. I'm like, yeah, like I stopped paying for that URL like 8 years ago. Like I don't know, like, and like I had a paper goods store for a while, and I'm not paying for that URL anymore. And I don't know, it's just, I guess I think about it in terms of URLs sometimes. I'm like, do I want to keep paying for this? Like, do I want to keep paying for this URL? And like, I just had one pop up the Know Your Endo website. And I'm like, do I still want to keep paying for this? But like, I don't know. And this is something I've been really thinking about a lot lately. And I don't know if this is an issue that I need to discuss with someone, but I don't even really like looking at old photos, because to me, it's like, that's a time that has passed and it was cool, but I'm almost nostalgic to a point where it doesn't feel good. I always think about the Beach Boys and how everyone loves the Beach Boys. And those songs are so sad to me because A, we know what happens to the Beach Boys, but they feel so like of a time where they were so nostalgic for like this culture. And I don't know why. I don't really love revisiting the past. I don't like watching movies twice. I don't really like looking at old photos. I just really am constantly, okay, let's move forward. and just really kind of living in the now versus living in the past.
Wow. This is the perfect way to start this new series, podcast, whatever we're going to be calling it, because that's what this needs to be about, is like newness and freshness for me, because I think I need to take a page in your book in that way. That to me, that sounds like a very healthy way to deal with nostalgia, because as you were explaining all of that, I'm like, oh my God, we're so different. And then I was like, oh no, we're the same. I think you're just managing it better, where I'm over here watching the same movie, like hanging on to everything I've ever done on the internet. I have that app Time Hop on my phone that like shows you what you posted, like for
Yeah,
all the years, and I actually look at it. Like it never makes me feel good. It's kind of like stepping on the scale. You're either going to judge yourself in either direction of
right.
like, oh, I'm bigger than I thought I was, or smaller than
Hmm.
I thought I was, good, bad. Like it's never gonna be like, wow, this is a productive thing that's gonna help me move forward, you
Yeah,
know?
yes, 100%. It does feel a lot. I mean, I haven't owned a scale in 20 years, so, or never owned a scale actually.
Yeah,
So I
same.
think, yeah, I
Because I know because I know what that would do for me,
100%.
just like nostalgia.
Yeah, I have a couple of friends that will send me, like, I don't know what it is. Like, I don't have Facebook, but it's like Facebook memories, or I think one of my friends has that time thing too, and she'll send me screenshots from it, and I'm just always like, "Ugh, I don't really wanna see these." And I think
Yeah.
I think that COVID really effed me up too in terms of nostalgia, because anything that's, like, before 2020, it just hits different to me. It's like, "Oh, a time
Oh my
before,"
God,
or
yeah.
even before the T word too, and it just like, and as much as I'm not nostalgic, I very much take pride in maintaining my friendships and relationships. So I'm not like, "Let's move on and find friends," and, like, not, like, maintain the important things in my life that I want forever. But in terms of photos, movies, felt like I'm not into that.
Yeah. I think I'm really inspired by that. I linger in the past. It's also why I feel like sometimes I have the same like four references where I said this to somebody last night. I say like Benjamin Button as a
Mhm.
verb, and like I'm like, "Oh, you're Benjamin Buttoning," or like did you phantom thread yourself if someone is like productive while they were sick, you know? And I think I have the same few references. I need to watch some new movies and add to my repertoire of things to pull from. And there's so much to consume and take in. And if you're stuck in the past, yeah, it's gonna block you from so much of that. But funnily enough, you I don't even know if you remember this, but I think we've always been in contact over the years. We've never lived in the same place since we've met. And I think we met in like 2014, and we met in person a few years after that. We were both speaking at this yoga
Burlesque? Yeah.
conference, I think. Yeah, I think that was the first time we met in person. But anyway, we've known each other for years, always been in touch. Like in my brain, I'm like, oh, Jessica Murnane, one of my close friends, even though,
Mhm.
we don't talk all the time. But most recently, when we reconnected, you sent me a screenshot from my 30th birthday party, which was on Zoom, April of 2020. And funnily enough, when you sent that, I had the feeling of you saying when your friend sent you the time hop, because funnily enough, it made me think like, oh God, like I'm not that person. Because it was strange. It was strange to have a Zoom birthday party. In a way, it was nice. I kind of joked like, wow, unless this was like my wedding or funeral, none of you would all be in the same room together, because it was people and, all over the world. But it's now been nearly 6 years since then. And some of those people I haven't talked to in years, some of them,
You
it
know
was
what's
just
funny is that photo that I sent to you, it wasn't even nostalgic to me. It felt like it was a meme of someone else's life.
totally,
It wasn't like,
totally.
"Oh,
It was
look at
so
this cool time."
bizarre.
It was like, "What the fuck is this?" It felt like something I found on
I
the
know.
internet. I was like, "Why is this in my phone?" I'm like, "Oh my god, this was Katie's 30th birthday."
I know. And you made an incredible sign. Do you remember you made a sign?
Yes.
Jess made this incredible birthday sign. That was the best part of it. But okay, I guess we should just say there was a celebrity in the chat,
I
and
did
it was
not get
just
along
like
with him at
it was
all.
one of the
Do
strangest.
you remember when I kind of dissed
It was
him
one of
and he took great offense to it? Do you remember that?
no,
I
not
made a
really.
little I
It was
made a
was it
little I
Columbus
made a little like
related?
funny joke, like kind of nagging him a bit, and he did not take to it well. That was hilarious to me.
Oh, you gotta remind me. I think I was so it was the worst party ever to exist because I was so at a regular party, I think I would be this way a little bit where I'm like, I want everyone to get along and like, how can I like, you should talk to this person, you should talk to this person. And you and him both happen to be from Columbus. And I think I was probably like, oh my God, here's something you have in common. And I'm just trying to do that on Zoom in a way that was like really not working. Nothing I did was working. Now that you're saying it, I do kind of remember. Oh my gosh.
So
Yeah,
I
I
do
mean,
like
but
nostalgia
what we
if it
gotta
feels like a
add.
meme, I guess.
Yeah, and I mean, in a way, I love being able to. There's nothing like some of my favorite laughs are someone you've known for a really long time, like remembering something hilarious that you've like laughed about for
Yeah.
a while, like that stuff, I wouldn't trade for anything. Yeah, I guess just the passage of time and getting older and all of that. And then I think for me too, it's like some of it is sunk cost fallacy or like, wow, I put so much time and money and energy into
Mm-hmm.
that, and I thought it was going to be one way, and it wasn't. It's really hard for me to. It's a letting go issue, I think,
Yeah.
and the grief. But I think of the easiest way to let go, and I think what you were encouraging me and why we're gathered here today, is sometimes starting something new can be the thing that I need to let go of what I need to let
Yeah,
go
and
of.
also
Has that been a way
yeah,
you've
and
done it?
also to be like totally, I mean, we're always honest. You've been talking about a iteration of feeling like you need to make a change for like 5 years.
Staying lingering at the party.
Yes. So I think, I think that I'm very happy that you're doing it now. I think maybe I'm just an impatient person. I also hate like monotony is probably my most hated thing in life. And I make this joke, which is not that funny, but the reference is not that funny. But have you ever seen that movie Revolutionary Road? I have such a fear of living a revolutionary road life of like being Kate Winslet living in the suburbs and hoping one day she can go to Paris and then she never does. And she's stuck in this home with these kids and she ends up dying. But I just, whenever I'm feeling that monotony and just that feeling of not having newness or excitement, I'll just, tell my partner, Dan, husband, and just say, like, "Just getting a little revolutionary road right now, and I need to make a change," or I don't like monotony. And so I think that might come from that too, of doing new things and letting things go because I just don't want to feel like I'm stuck ever. Because I think also, I think I have multiple chronic illnesses. I've written books about chronic illness, and I think that I've never really connected this in this way, but I think that when you have a chronic illness, it is with you at all times, right? Like it can just rule and run your life. I can't escape that ever. And so, what are other ways that I can make my life great? And I think that is probably doing new things often.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so great to know that about yourself, and I love that you have that shared language, gentle, playful language way of saying it of, it's getting revolutionary roadie over here. Like it was so funny because I that stood out to me this morning when I was listening to your episode where you happened to mention that, and I was like, that sounds nice. Like, it sounds nice to have some monotony. My personal life has been very, or just the last 5 years really have been the opposite of monotony in a way. Like, although I'm saying, work wise, or at least like internet appearance wise, things are pretty stagnant. But my day-to-day life, who I'm friends with, there's been a lot of churn and that's been tough. And so perhaps it's related to why I'm holding on to, it's like my one constant for me isn't people or a place that I've lived or pair of jeans even, there's been so much fluctuation in every other ounce of my life that I think Let It Out has been the longest relationship of my life. And I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just a
yeah.
difference. So it was so helpful to have you kind of push me off the, yeah, it's interesting to just talk about how all of the outside things interplay into all of this. So what is most helpful for you when you're stuck, or how can someone support you when you are in a place where you need a comeback, or it's getting revolutionary roady, or you were so
Yeah,
thoughtful in how you supported me.
well, I will say that, and this is not a comparison game at all, and I hate when people are like, talk about like parenting in a negative way, because I'm not, but I mean, I do think I am married and I do have a kid, which can lead to monotony very easily, right? It's like pack a lunch, pick them up from school, put them to bed, it's like it's very formulaic in that way. And I don't really feel like that revolutionary road feelings I had as much when I was not a parent. I think that really fuels that feeling of monotony a lot. I mean, but then also, like, I think I might have shared this story when my husband and I, when we got married and we went to like his family's house 3 years in a row for Thanksgiving. I'm like, all right, what are we going to do next year? He's like, it's tradition. We go to my family's house. I'm like, what the fuck? Like, we're going to go to the same house and eat the same food and see the same people every year. Like, it just felt wild to me. But I think the way that I get support is just definitely my friends. I mean, I think that there are certain friends of mine and even friends that like maybe I only talk to once a year, but they're sort of my get a new perspective friend. And then I also have, a lot of friends that I have here. But yeah, I think it's friends. And I think it's also studying something new. Just I mean, I love thinking about a new topic that I'm interested in and then going to the library and getting 20 books on that topic and checking them out. I don't know. Or it's getting a new hobby. Like I got into paper mache for a minute. And I just think having new creative outlets, or maybe you decide to make cakes, or I don't know. It's just like teaching yourself and learning can be a huge way to break out of that monotony and the ability to like let things go.
Something I admire about you, and there's so many things, is that you know yourself really well. Has there been an instance, like I think the Thanksgiving story is maybe an example of this, but so maybe you already gave this answer, but has there been an instance where you have lingered at a party too long, so to speak, where you've stayed
Yeah, like dating
and
a completely shitty dude from like 18 or 17 until I finally met a good guy. I mean, I definitely lingered in relationships or maybe like a couple friendships that weren't reciprocal. And then finally I was like, yeah, this is not it for me. But I think career wise, no, I think I just kind of, and I mean, I also am just, and this is not a flex, but I think that I've put myself in positions to create opportunity too. I mean, I think I love talking to people a lot. And so I talk to everybody. And I think you do that too. And I think when you do that, and I'm not talking about DMing people, I'm talking about meeting people at parties and things like that. I think you're opening yourself up to new opportunities. And sometimes I'll just cold email someone and I think is cool and say, like, we should meet or we should be friends. Or I think it's just constantly having like new inspiration is a way to make sure that you don't get stuck.
yeah, completely. And I think the podcast has allowed me to do us probably to do that. For a long time, we used to always say podcasting is the new networking. Maybe it's not new anymore, but podcasting is a great form of, I don't like the word networking, but it is essentially what I wouldn't be here talking to you today probably if not for having a podcast
Right.
at some point, honestly.
Yeah, and I'm also just thinking my mom married my stepdad when I was 12 and he was in the military, so we moved every 2 years.
Mm. Oh my
And
God. I feel like that's hugely relevant to this
yes, it's very
conversation.
relevant. Yeah, and I'm just kind of putting this together, but
Yeah.
I just, it's very hard to hang on to things when you're just going to leave.
Hmm.
And I know right now, like, we're going to be selling our house for a couple of reasons. And I do get very nostalgic about homes because it's a place that you're in every day. And I think because I had to move every 2 years, I didn't really get that. But after a week or so, I'm like, okay, I'm over it. Let's move.
Wow. Okay. I'm having like 2 to 4 watershed moments at the same time and like tentacles that this conversation could go down. But not to get too therapy about all of this, but I feel like our family of origin and how we grew up is really impacting this conversation based on the sample size of you and I right now,
Mhm.
because I grew up very oppositely, where my mom is one of 6, and her and all of her 6 siblings have lived in the same place as their parents where they grew up. They all still live there. And my mom lives in the same house that I grew up in. And I have done everything in my life to kind of, and this wasn't so conscious, but as you know, all I wanted to do for so long was to move out of Michigan. And we talked about this the last time, but you made an incredible documentary podcast about helping people learn about the process of making a cookbook. And at that time, I happened to be moving to New York. And so I basically copied your idea and I never made it, but I was trying to apply what you did with making a cookbook to moving to New York because it was something I was so interested in, I so wanted to do and was doing and did ultimately, but I just wanted to live in a city and have friends and have this kind of life that was so not revolutionary roady like I grew up. And I've done that, but I think it's made me a bit more measured in work because it's just me. I am an only child with a work alone, no you know what I mean? All of these ways that it's just one person. And I think that we talked about this too. When I was dating someone, even for a long period of time, I took bigger swings. And I talked to a person for this podcast earlier this week, and she had left a long marriage and met someone new and started to be with them. And somebody was saying to her, like, do you wish you would have done it sooner? Like, do you wish you wouldn't have lingered there as long in that relationship that wasn't as good? And she was like, no, I am so happy that I was there because it allowed me to take bigger swings in my career because I felt very supported in that relationship in that way. And it's just interesting how like all of these outside things affect how we make changes and our ability to make changes and how long they take us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that whether I had a partner or not, I would be the same in terms of wanting to make changes, like, quickly. But I do think, like, I remember after college, I met my husband in college, but he had another year, so I left and went on, and I moved to Chicago, and I didn't know anybody when I moved to Chicago. I just moved to Chicago, and people were like, "So who do you know there? Do you have friends?" I'm like, "I don't know anybody there. I'm just going." And I think a lot of people I knew are like, "Wait, what?" And it's like, but I think, like, growing up where I had went to a new school every 2 years, that's just what I knew, right? It's just like, go to a new city, you figure it out. And I think, one of my siblings, I have 5 brothers and sisters. One of my siblings is from my mom and my dad before my parents got divorced when I was 2. And she's the same way as I am. She's, like, easily able to sort of, like, move, sell a house, let things go, And then my other siblings who were born and raised in Ohio and like have never really left, they definitely have more of an attachment and I think takes longer to make change. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the way we grow up influences that. But at the same time, I think at some point when you're lingering and it doesn't feel good anymore, you got to just like get out.
Completely. I mean, that's kind of how I feel about, even I kind of wish I hadn't gone down that wormhole, because something I've been saying to myself for the last couple of years is like, and I'm, of course, I don't mean to like minimize the importance of mental health and all of that, but like, it's not useful for me to know why anymore. Like, I know enough about why I am the way I am, and I just want to change. And getting down to even everything I just said about like the family of origin stuff, or, I think people say like you can blame your parents until you're 30 and then you have to start changing or whatever, and I think that, yeah, the reason why doesn't matter as much as like the reasons to begin again, or change, or do something that moves you forward.
Yeah, that made me just think of is it so gross when people reference their therapist, but Dr. Carter has changed my life, but my therapist, Dr. Carter, last year and a half ago, it was in terms of my health issues. And she said for the next, I don't remember the time frame that she gave me, she was like, stop researching. And that didn't just mean like stop Googling your symptoms or diagnosis or whatever. It just was like, stop fucking analyzing everything about what is happening in your body. And I think to the point of the lingering thing and like what you're talking about, and, not maybe blaming it on an origin story or, my childhood was this or that. It's like, yeah, maybe stop researching, stop analyzing. Because I think we can get in our heads too much about that. And then it informs like almost every decision that we make, which can be very unhealthy.
Yeah.
And in the world
completely.
of chat, GPT, like people are literally typing in prompts to see what they should be doing with their lives, which is a form of researching in a way, right? And like, stop doing that.
Yeah, and it's just a mirror to what it's just going to send you more of what it's just buttering your own bread. It just it
Yes,
kind of
for
keeps you
sure.
in a loop.
Yes. Yeah. And I
Okay.
mean, yes. Do you have to go?
No. I was good.
Okay.
When you're ready, I have some rapid fire
Oh,
to
I
begin.
love rapid fire.
New
Okay, great.
segment.
Please go. You go.
Okay.
Let's
Okay.
rapid fire.
All right. So, was there a moment in your life? You've already talked about several, so I think we've maybe covered this one, but I'm calling it the pivot point, where you most completely reinvented yourself. Like, if you had to zero in on one, what was that, and what did it look like, and where were some of the fun parts and some of the challenges?
The first two that come to mind very big are one, when I did design for about 10 years or so, I had a paper company or paper, like a design company. And I just decided to, after I had changed my whole health, I just was like, I just want to help people in a different way. So I shifted everything and went into food. That's a huge pivot. And then I think one of the biggest ones, which I will say was one of the harder ones, is that I lived in Chicago for 17 years. And this is a flex. I feel like I was very hooked up in that city. It's like, you
Yeah,
want this
yeah.
here, you want this reserve. He was like, oh, I know this person. I know this person. My friend called it, I had a lot of juice there. And I moved
Yeah,
to
it felt,
Charleston.
even from afar, like it was part of your identity almost.
Yeah, like I really was very integrated, woven into that city. And when I moved to Charleston, South Carolina, that was like a huge moment of like, A, I'm moving to the South, crazy. And also, I don't know anybody here. I don't have any quote unquote juice here. And that was like kind of a weird thing of just completely starting over. And, I'm not using juice in a gross way, but it's like even just down to like if you live in a city and you know the dry cleaner that you go to, or, it's weird to completely not have any of those resources anymore and completely start over. So I had to learn how to drive. Like it was weird. So I think that was a huge challenge, giving up my life in Chicago for a much smaller life in Charleston.
Yeah, and it takes time and energy and resources to build all of that over the years, and
Yes, for
it's
sure.
and it can be done, but it is something you're letting go of when you move too. And yeah, that's a really good one. I think moving is such a key. It teaches you so much. I think it broadens your capacity for uncertainty by showing yourself that you can do it.
I think everyone should make a significant move at least once in their life. I really think that.
I do too. I do too. I completely agree. And I understand that it's really hard.
Yes,
That it
100%. Yeah.
and harder for some people it was hard for me, one of my best friends from college moved to New York like for an internship while we were still in college, and it was like all I wanted to do from literally like it feels like the time I arrived on, here, but I didn't end up going in, until like 5 years later because I just am more of a stepping stone person, or it wasn't,
Mhm.
it takes everyone a different amount of time, but I completely agree. I think it's worth it. Okay. Looking back on your life, which is kind of broad and nostalgia-esque, but was there a failure that you would characterize that you look back at now and it actually proved to be like, phew, oh my God, I'm so glad that happened the way it did, or set you up for something new in a positive way?
Yeah, I had a business partner. Gosh, I was so young. We opened up a paper store together and we had a partner breakup. It was not good at all. And I woke up every morning with diarrhea, feeling so sick to my stomach because of there was like, I don't even get into it, but there was lawyers involved and it was gross. And it felt like everything was over for my career. And thank God it ended. But yes, that felt awful. But I think the ending of that really sent me on a trajectory of really cool opportunities, and I'm so grateful that that happened.
Oh yeah,
My number
same.
one tip for that is I tell this to everyone, if you are going into business with someone, it's like getting married, get an ironclad partnership agreement. It's almost like people don't wanna get a prenup because it feels like, well, this means that we might not be together forever. It's like, just get it. So that's my tip from that.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, I'm glad that turned out how it did. Are there any, I'll call this like pivot, what you have in your pivot pocket, or like are there any small rituals or like daily practices that help you navigate a change or like a twist in your day that you weren't expecting, or navigate uncertainty that comes up in on like a day-to-day level, or when you're in the midst of a move or like a big transition? Are there any practices or routines that you lean on?
Not to go into horticultural therapy, but I definitely think
Oh, please do.
some type of garden, outdoor, like, there's a lot of transitions in my life right now, personally, not just professionally. And having that tool of being able to grow, I will cry, but it's like, it is just the thing that keeps me sane is planting seeds. I mean, there's tons of metaphor there, right? Too, of like, while you're changing, this thing is changing too. But I think that is so huge for me. And then I also think just moving my body in some way, it might seem so like cliche, but if I am not moving my body in stressful times, I feel very mentally unwell. Like today, personally, there's a lot of stuff going on. And today I was just like, hopped on my bike and I'm like, I'm out of here just for 10 minutes. I just got to pedal my legs and get some air. And it really changed things a lot. And I think sometimes when you're going through change and things are heavy and things suck, like the hardest thing to do is to get up off your ass and actually move. And I've been in that moment where it's like, well, I'm just going to watch The Housewives and this will make me feel better, which it does sometimes. But ultimately it's the movement that gets me back into a little bit of a better place, I think.
Oh my God, completely. I'm so glad you said that because, as you know, I writing and journaling and kind of what I was alluding to before of like taking in concepts, taking in information like fail fast or ideas from other people that feel true and I believe have worked for them. But what I really need is to get out of my head and the headiness of taking in more concepts or more news or more distraction even, and like integrate some of this into my body. And I wrote in my journal the other day, like the only thing I've never felt worse after a walk, like it's the only effective solution to getting me out of my head. Like I've never not felt better actually. I'm just underlining and bolding your point, but it's kind of everything. And another thing that I want to bring up in this rapid fire portion is aging and how that plays into all of this, because I've been having conversations like this of getting a second chance or trying to even convey what I'm doing next or what I'm trying to do next to other people. And I haven't been talking about it much to people who are not you, but I very intentionally, because I don't want too many cooks in the kitchen, but conversations that I've been having on repeat are like with friends saying like, oh, I'm finding a one after the next thing that I've kind of like, oh, it's something I've aged out of, or I'm not gonna, or even just like, probably not gonna be a prodigy now, like there are things that are just, there's a narrowing that kind of happens as we get older. And what are some of your feelings on aging and
My God.
evolution, and how have you played into that?
Okay, this is crazy, and I'm so embarrassed to admit this, but I'm going to admit it here.
Okay, wow, exclusive.
I've never left a negative podcast comment ever on someone's podcast, ever. Because I have a podcast. I don't read my Amazon reviews because but there's this podcast that I listen to, and it's a pop culture podcast. This woman talks about being quote unquote old all the time. She's like just turned 40. She's like, well, I'm old. Like, well, that TikTok trend, that's not for me because I'm old. And I couldn't bear it anymore. And I left her, I left a review, and it wasn't even that mean. I was just like, hot lifestyle tip. The more you talk about being old, the more that you will feel that. Like, just please, it's increasingly harder to listen to this podcast with you talking about it. I find it to be so boring to hear people talk about getting old. Like, I find it so boring. And listen, there are huge realities of getting older, right? Like I have aging parents right now. I have sick parents. That can be a very difficult part of aging, but you will never hear me say I'm old or that I'm too old for that. I find it so boring and cliche and I just hate it for some reason. My parents never did that. I can't, aside from a woman talking about how fat she is, like, I can't think of something more boring than talking about your age. Like, let's just be like kinder to ourselves and just maybe reframe it and say, oh, I'm just not that into that anymore. Or, yeah, it's just like not my thing. It might not even have anything to do with age. And
So true.
so many of my friends that are in their 40s are like, well, we're old now. I'm like, no, please don't. Like, stop. It's so gross. And like, I think about, someone like Martha Stewart, who can be incredibly problematic. I had friends that have worked for her, and she can be not a nice person, but she started her empire at 50. Okay. It's like, she worked in banking before, and she started her entire everything when she was 50. And where people are like, oh God, Martha Stewart's too old. You never hear her talk about being old. And I think like some of the greatest icons of women that are older in age, they don't talk about their age. They're just amazing. And I think that ageism is obviously very real, right? Like we know this. But I think, me choosing horticultural therapy as my next thing that I'm doing, age is an asset in this profession. Like, I think it's so cool. Like, I look to the gardeners that are in their 70s and 80s and even 90s. Like, I think age is fucking awesome. I think it's a trope that a lot of women say and carry because obviously ageism is real, and men, if you are dating, like, obviously that can be an issue, but let's just stop saying it. Sorry, I just went on a rant, but
Wow.
it really bothers me.
No, I'm so happy you did, because I honestly, I just want to stand up and clap. I actually am standing, so I'll just clap. The point is, I really needed to hear that, because I like just last year for the first time, I was like, oh, aging's like a thing that's gonna come in the future. I'm aware of that. I know for a fact I'm not gonna be great at it, because vanity has been an issue, and body and blah 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 for all, talked about all that way too much. But it was just, looming in the future. And then last year, for the first time, I was like, oh my God, all right, here, I guess it's like coming now. Like, hi, here we go. And it's like I just saw it, and I instantly, I aged myself 5 years, where it's like, and I think just hearing what you said, I have now Benjamin Buttoned 5 years the other direction, so it's evened out, because you're right, it does age you by the more you talk about it, and it's just not interesting. Like, there is nothing worse than someone talking about, and I understand, body image, God, as much as the next guy, probably more than the next guy, but it's not helpful. And I think for me, when I am around people who are younger, and they're talking about something that I feel a difference in, it's really easy to just be like, oh, that's our age gap. Like, you didn't know that, or I didn't have, you had a cell phone when you were, whatever that is. Like, it seems like a low hanging fruit, but that really helped me, of just reframing it, of like, just say it in a different way, or just don't say it at all, and maybe move on, and
Yeah, and I
find
mean,
common ground elsewhere.
I definitely have an issue where I have this friend group. It's three of us that are into horticulture. I met one of my friends at school, and then another friend is a flower grower. And we, after one of them is younger in age, and me and my other friend are in our 40s. And after she left, I was like, don't you just love her? And she was like, yeah, but God, she makes me feel kind of old. And I'm like, really? Because, and maybe this is an issue of mine, but when I'm with someone, I just assume that we're the same age. Like, I just like, because if we're vibing on something like flowers or horticulture or housewives or whatever, to me, it's like, you might not have the same references that I do because I grew up in a different time period, but like, we're in this right now, and we're just like loving and vibing on the same thing. So like, why would age be an issue here? And I do want to say, like, I know aging bodies are a real thing. Like, my face has changed. But I think what's kind of cool, and I don't know if you can take this, it could be a negative thing to some people, but I have extreme body dysmorphia. I've never liked my body. I've been in therapy for it since I was 16. Nothing's changing there. So I'm just like, well, I don't really care about my aging body because I've never really liked my body anyway. So like, all my friends that are freaking out about their aging bodies, who have loved their body their whole lives, it almost makes me feel more bad for
Oh,
them because it's
yeah,
such
this is great news. I'm gonna do great. I'm gonna be excellent at this.
it's like
Things do
such
change things for
a
me.
sudden change for
Yeah.
them that they are freaking out. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've always hated my body. It's like, and
Yeah, join us.
it's like, it's sad, but it makes the transition way easier for me because I have one of my friends was like, oh my God, this Pilates class that I go to, it's all these like 20 hot girls. And it's like so funny because when I go to these Pilates classes with 20-year-old hot girls, like, I've never felt like a 20-year-old hot girl ever when I even was 20. So it just feels the same to me. Like, I don't really care.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've had it a tiny bit different. I get At first I was like, "Oh my God, I completely relate." And I do, but I think I mine has been a little bit complicated, because in some ways I feel like I have achieved like a body size that is not
it all where I've been meant to be by doing things that I shouldn't have been doing, and given up a lot for that, and I've ruined relationships over that, and it's been a sword in my spine, and I've talked about it a lot in different places, and I think that I'm realizing the older I get, like, how much I gave up for that, and now it's like seeing, this could literally be a whole different podcast that I don't even want to go down, but there's a lot here, I think, on and oh God, I didn't even, the reason I woke up to aging in the first place is I had an interesting experience of someone who was my age, or like 2 years older than me, and then I was essentially too old for him.
Dude,
Because
you
he dated
also
people
live
only who
in
were
LA. So
Yeah.
this is LA, okay? That's one of the biggest
Yeah.
issues of people dating in LA is like men date down there generally,
Yeah.
which I think would be a whole
Yeah.
other thing to live in LA and age and body image and everything. I think we just need to, especially as women, like just stop these narratives that, I mean, because it catches, right? It's like you hear a friend doing it and then you start doing it. Then all of a sudden you're giving like a friend like an over the hill birthday card, which is just so blech. It's just
Totally.
I know, it's just like it's like boring, low
Not
humor.
funny.
It's stupid humor. It's just like trash humor. I just don't think it's funny.
Yeah, it's antiquated. Well, not to go back in time again, but if you had to go back in time and tell, let's just say, the Jess that I met in 2014, 2015, what would you, if you had to like whisper a piece of advice to someone on the precipice of a change or a transition, or someone in the cocoon, or what would you tell them? What would you like whisper in their ear?
What are you waiting for? Well, like, what are you waiting for?
That's so good. That's so true. That's so you. That's the most you. Should that just be the name of this?
What are you waiting for?
Yeah, that I need to tattoo that on my forehead.
Because it's truly, it's like, if you're already nervous about aging, okay, what are you waiting for? It's like, and also, who cares if people's attention spans are 2 fucking seconds right now. So the thing that you're launching, if it doesn't work, no one's even going to remember it. Okay. Like it's just do the thing. Who cares?
Completely. And I think I get caught up with how I'm perceived too much, like of what that no one's even perceiving me. You know what I mean? Like I'm not even being perceived, but I'm like, oh, this in my brain, I have this like narrative or this like whole story that no one is actually seeing. So just move on. And anyway, I can't thank you enough. There's about 8 more questions, but I have to go to work.
Right.
And I'm so sad because I've never been able to keep these tight. But where can everyone find you? Tell us about my new favorite program that you just launched that I'm a super fan of. And thank you so much.
Oh my
for
gosh,
doing
of
this
course.
with
You
me.
can find me, my new website is called baskergardens.com. I'm not on social media, but I do have a little portfolio there that you can go to. I also have a newsletter. But yeah, you can find everything on jessicamurnane.com or go to baskergardens.com and sign up for my newsletter. And also, it's kind of fun because I'm not on the META platforms. I have a little feed that I made for myself on my website. So if you like social media type content, but not on social media, you can go to my website to see it.
Oh, cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow. You have the best ideas, and
thanks.
I am endlessly inspired by you.
Oh, wait, and the podcast is called Inside and
yeah.
Outside, which is my new favorite thing that I'm doing.
Oh, yeah.
So,
Inside and Outside. I didn't even say the name.
thank you.
It's so
Oh, thanks.
good. It's
Thank
so
you.
good and inspired me to no end and to do this. And I love it so much. And I can't wait there's a few more episodes that I need to listen to. And I'm so excited to turn it on every day.
Thanks so much, Katie.
All right, we did it. What do you think? How was that for you? Did you enjoy it? What do you want to call this? Do you like comebacks? I don't know. I just was like, I gotta put this out here. I have like a whole list of names. I could post it and you could tell me what you think. But yeah, get a hard copy of Jess's books. Follow her on Substack. Learn about horticulture therapy. Her show is incredible. You know, I really love her podcast. You should go listen to it for sure. And keep in touch with me. You know, this podcast, Let It Out, has its own Instagram account. Its own. Yeah, I'm stoked to be here, and I'm gonna be consistent. And I'm treating this new series like I treated this show when I first began, which was having no idea what was to come, hoping for the best, but really humble expectations-wise, but certainly excited and effusive, and that's what I'm gonna continue to do. So let me know what you want to hear or who you want to hear from. If you had a pivot or a comeback, you know, I want to know. I was really, you know, when I started this, you know, this whole thing a long time ago, I was 22 and I was interviewing people who were like a decade older than me, or, you know, sometimes not, but not really anyone younger because they would have been like children, but or I mean like a decade younger. But the point is, I was just really ambitious and like needed to get inspired, and I got an hour of these people's time to ask them whatever I wanted, and I wanted to bring that spirit back now and do what I do best, which is not like these like journalistic interviews or like trying to pretend I'm Terry Gross. It's really just like asking what I'm genuinely curious about and listening and asking another one, a follow-up, if you will. Okay. Bye-bye. Talk to you next week. I guess we don't deep breath anymore because this is a new thing, right? Yeah, that'd be bad.